The general social expectation is that younger generations do better than older generations. We grew up on old sayings of younger generations stepping into the shoes of some past parents or ancestors. Basically, expectations apply to younger ones simply by being a member of some families, just as behaving kingly is expected of a child born by a royal. Family standards become parental standards, and parental standards become destiny pointers for many young people. So many times it goes differently than planned. So what is the struggle the younger generation is facing, and what effect does it have on the economy? The economic struggles. The Jet Agers were born with the current generation being ushered in by the boom of technology and IT. The very youngest members, born after 2000, are generally known as Gen Zs. That naming might sound exotic, but it comes with a daunting reality that nothing comes easy. To be fair, modern life has its twists and turns, and everyone faces one challenge or the other. Still, for the youth, it might be overwhelming with so many areas of life equally competing for prominence. Healthcare, housing, education, taxes, and food, among several others. One of the major areas is housing. Of course, it's got to begin with housing. Man's basic needs have been termed to be food, clothing, and shelter. The features of housing needs in the past generations are fundamentally different from the modern days. From the types of housing needs and costs of setting up these needs to the social attachment attached to these young sentiments, housing has been directly linked to a major reason why younger generations can't settle down in time, marry late, or have children late into their lives. To underscore the significance of the housing hardship that the current generation face, it's important to note that in Europe, the location of the most economically developed nations, there are more than 2/3 of young adults that still live with their parents because they simply cannot afford a personal space to live. Among male adults, Croatia represents the highest ratio, with a whopping 93.1% of adult young males still living in their parents' house due to financial and economic reasons. Amongst the female populations in Europe, Malta ranks the highest with 82.4%, while Finland ranks lowest with 30.1%. Denmark represents the lowest with only 39.5% still living with their parents. This figure is considered higher in Africa by almost 60% due to the lower social mobility indexes and the absence of social security. World population continues to be on the rise due to these. Only 39% of Americans under the age of 35 own a home. The rest of the 61% with income levels under $35,000 spend above 30% of their incomes on housing and rent. Young adults' incomes have only increased by 19%, which could be why home ownership among this age group has decreased from 55% in 1997 to 35% in 2017. A similar pattern may be seen in the United States, where housing costs have increased by a factor of 4 since 1950, and homeless rates have reached record highs. In the U.S., the proportion of mortgage debt to GDP increased from 15% to 80% between 1949 and 2018. For example, Gen X, born between 1965 and 1980, fared better when affording housing due to factors like higher wage percentages and rising property values. Younger generations grapple with low income and social mobility levels in the U.S. and the U.K. With housing forming an integral part of modern life, and those who ended up securing their housing needs often suffer economic immobility in their other areas of activities, as real estate is a fixed asset that doesn't produce anything by itself. It just is, solving the needs it does and serving as investment return. Consequences on the economy. How the consequence plays out for the economy is that after having to grapple with the need to secure their housing under the weights of various issues, such as plummeting social trust due to erratic gun violence, belief systems, and political views and orientation, and then the assistance of technology, the young generation finds it difficult to contribute to the economy in terms of production meaningfully. Recent indices inform that about 57% of modern investor-age company executives are from Generation X. Young generation has little to contribute to the economy due to the autonomous costs and its effects on their living. Education cost undergone by the young generation is a huge economic strain, even after their second decade in the labor force. High college degrees and high school costs have led to the government's intervention through various government policies, such as the student loan, which puts a new kind of strain on the earnings of these young people even after they've graduated. According to the New York Fed and Equifax's Consumer Credit Panel, over a third, 36% to be exact, of older Gen Zers that have been tagged as the new generations still have student debts as of June 2022. The effect of student debts is that it suppresses consumer spending of these young populations, slows the growth of new businesses, and makes it harder to save or break through a recession. It strains home ownership, delays personal growth and development, which is the cornerstone of the human capital development necessary for the growth of any economy, and puts a damper on retirement savings for these young generations. A study reported in October 2022 stated that in 2021, an average of $18,878 as student debt. So the narrative of school loans being a good debt is fast losing. It is an economic and social appeal. Theories by economists. All along, it was as if Malthus was more than an economist in his theories about global populations and their effect on young people's economic and social development. It's like there are too many young people competing for too few resources out there. And because poor housing and poor health are tied together, a physically unsound young population or an increased mortality rate would spring another Japan effect worldwide. These factors hinder substantial economic participation by hindering domestic industrialization, for example. While young graduates seek jobs only to pay off student loans and spend most of their incomes on rent, they don't get to be the most that they can be, as working doesn't necessarily mean productivity. Younger people must be involved in this process more now than ever because of their complicated, interwoven, and seemingly impossible problems. Again, the high costs of medical services and pharmaceuticals has placed a weight on the economic stability of the young adults. Medical expenses in the U.S. are famed to be about 20% on average higher than food expenses. Many health factors come from young adult populations due to modern-day social ills such as reduced life expectancy that's increasing. In a report by Jay Bonney in 2015, young adults were reported to have significantly lower rates of healthcare system utilization compared to other groups, but significantly higher emergency room visits. Another report by Brimble N. in 2022 reveals that compared to young individuals of the same age who were not giving care at baseline, 2014 to 2016, young people who gave care at baseline were less likely to be employed, had lower income from paid employment, and had worse mental and physical health at follow-up. Young individuals providing healthcare came at a significant financial cost to society in the form of decreased tax revenue, welfare benefit payments, and health insurance use. In 2017, the expenses totaled £1,048 million. Role of the government. The most disturbing is that no one can really affect changes in government policy due to the sheer clash of economic priority with other age grades within the economy. These are directly impacted by the wealth tax and Social Security fund discrepancies that will keep crippling the economy. While many young generations recognize freedom in another sense, we can't really say the government has done anything to make things less overwhelming for the younger generation. In some countries, there might be several job opportunities, but older adults are most times preferred for the very high-paying roles. But that's not fair, as the young adult is trying to find his footing and pay off all the debt accumulated over the years. Over time, things might get better because the youth are becoming more proficient and the skills they are acquiring would be highly required in the country. We've come to the end of this video. Feel free to share the economic struggles that you faced as a youth or are currently facing in the comments section below. Also, remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.